Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Underwriting Shorts. My name is David Bayes. I'm your host here with Cavalier Associates, and joining me today is Ken Turzak, our chief underwriter. Ken, welcome in.
Thanks, David. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Well, Ken, you and I were talking. One of the items we've really seen an uptick in recently, really probably over the past 3 to 5 years, is testosterone replacement therapy and supplement use.
Yeah.
And so let's dive into the TRT part, the testosterone part. How does prescribed TRT impact underwriting compared to, say, more of your performance-oriented uses?
Sure. Well, to begin, testosterone is not an over-the-counter drug. So therefore, in all circumstances, insurance companies are going to want to see that it is prescribed by a physician. So not only prescribed by the physician, but they're going to want to see follow-up from on that individual during the course of their taking these supplements. For anabolic use, whether from a physician or from let's say a guy in the back of the gym, in all cases, these are going to be a decline. It's not going to be a good outcome. So if not doctor prescribed and not doctor monitored, coverage is going to be very, very unlikely. But as long as the individual is being prescribed testosterone, as long as they're being followed on a regular basis by their physician, coverage is favorable, is preferred, or even preferred best may be available.
All right, so if you're picking it up in the pharmacy, you're good to go. If you're getting it out of a gym locker, that's pretty questionable.
Not so good.
And with that said, so let's say you have a client who is on TRT, right, prescribed, right? What are some good field underwriting questions that you would suggest asking to help you assess the situation?
Yeah, I mean, to your statement at the beginning, David, I mean, this has become so common in the last 2, 3, 4 years. Why are they on it? Again, some of the things I just said, making certain that they're being followed. Are there any side effects from the use of the testosterone? Those are really going to be the things that you're going to look at on these individuals that are taking it. It's pretty much that straightforward and pretty much that simple.
Appreciate that. With that said, the next piece that we're often seeing, right, as you kind of move up the age ladder is the use of HGH from an anti-aging perspective. How do carriers typically view that?
Yeah, here there's going to be a little bit more variance among the carriers versus those that are using testosterone, where typically we can arrive at preferred or preferred best. With HGH, carriers are considering, they're looking at these more on a case-by-case basis. Now, ultimately, standard rates are very possible, but it's going to be standard at best. Preferred is not typically available with individuals on HGH. Applicants using HGH, they're going to be fully underwritten, and the outcome is going to be dependent, of course, on the review of the records. There's just more concerns with the use of HGH, more side effects with the use of HGH versus testosterone, and thus these cases are looked at, they're scrutinized more closely.
All right. And with that said, moving into that third piece here is what kind of supplement use, triggers concern from an underwriting perspective?
Well, first, I mean, again, if you're referring to the use of any anabolic steroid, it's a non-starter, even if these supplements can be purchased over the counter. But for the purpose of underwriting those, the case is going to be a decline. As to some of those cases, they're not concerned with those legal over-the-counter supplements unless they're creating complications, unless there's something in the labs that are going askew because of their use. I mean, you can look up and down the line, David, different vitamins, different supplements that treat depression, different vitamins and different supplements that are good for the prostate, different vitamins and supplements that are good for anxiety. I mean, just they're natural occurring meds, if you will, but sometimes they can have side effects. So ultimately, over the counter typically is not an issue unless there's some kind of side effect associated with their use.
Well, and actually it brings up a good point. So, look, you and your team are always kind of pre-underwriting and reviewing documentation, labs, etc. If you have somebody who's either TRT, HGH, or they're a heavy supplement user, and if you don't know somebody that might be a heavy supplement user, somebody that's obviously could be somebody that's in the gym real heavily, real strength training type person, could be an endurance athlete too. I know when I was running a lot, and there's so much supplement advertising, and there's a lot of gels and goos and this and that you can take to give you energy. But what type of documentation, labs, or even cover letters can really help get a favorable decision?
Well, I mean, if there's any chance at all, if the individual's been on these supplements for a period of time, they may even have noted from their visits to the physician that that they've had a lab that was artificially elevated because of that. Address it up front. Whenever you know that there may be a question mark in the underwriter's mind when the case is being underwritten, anything and everything that you can give up front to make sense of it is always a good it's always a good practice. But supporting documentation, quite frankly, it's going to include the APS. Again, documenting all these things that we've talked about in the last 5 minutes, that they're being followed, that they're being monitored. They're going to look at the labs to make certain that there's no significant abnormalities that may be caused by these supplements. And then, make sure that there's no secondary issues from the use of the testosterone or the HGH or the herbal supplements or the vitamins. So we're seeing them more and more. We talked about testosterone and HGH, of course, but across the board, we're seeing more and more people taking various supplements, various herbal remedies, various dietary aids. So while most are okay, they can cause some side effects. And there are sometimes side effects that are the issue and not the use themselves, if that makes sense.
I appreciate that insight. And yeah, I mean, look, the more information you can gather for review, that's always going to help you and your team figure out what that rating is going to be and what carriers are going to work for you. But so to end with this, Ken, look, you're always on the forefront of underwriting. You're meeting with every carrier on a regular basis to find out, kind of what are the new emerging trends that are out there. And with that said, are there any new trends or substances that advisors should start asking their clients about up front, or at the very least to kind of be aware of?
Yeah, I think I think, David, that should be, I gave this a lot of thought before our conversation. And I think the question should be basically just as you and I were talking a moment ago, more of a blanket question. Are you taking any of these types of things? Because, the question on the application may not specifically ask, but, obviously in the course of underwriting, they could still become an issue. The trend really is the use of the testosterone and the HGH. I've seen them for years in underwriting, but it's not been until, let's say, as you and I both pointed out, in towards the beginning, it's been much more widespread in the past couple 3 years, where the use of either testosterone, HGH, all these various supplements and herbal remedies and vitamins has really, really taken off, with people kind to try to trending away from some of the prescription medications to more herbal remedies, if you will. But again, just to back up and to stay on course, testosterone truly has been the trend, and the use of HGH, and the underwriter view of the uses of testosterone and HGH over the last couple, 3 years.
Well, Ken, really appreciate your insight, your knowledge, your expertise on these matters, and look forward to our next conversation coming very soon.
As do I, David. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.